Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 trading. This week we are talking about February 10th to Friday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day week. Going to be an interesting week in the markets considering what the US dollar and other currencies have put in the previous week. Pretty explosive movement on both ends and so it is going to be quite interesting to see kind of what's going to transpire, and we can already see the US dollar is starting to drop off a little bit. As you can see, the time of this recording, as always, it is Sunday, just after market open. We can see this is Sunday's candle. The Asian range has started for the weekly market price direction, and we're already starting to get a little bit of decline on the US dollar. So real quick here, bring up Forex Factory as always, keep things consistent. We do have a yen, I should say a Japanese banking holiday, so the yen pairs may be a little bit muted for the Monday trading session, so just keep that in mind. Other than that, it's a fairly low volatility week with the exception of Tuesday. Number of speakers on Tuesday, and they're all getting going kind of a midday New York open. So it starts with ECB president, and then the Fed Chair Powell, and then the Bank of England Governor Carney speaks shortly after that, all within that hour-and-a-half time frame. So just make sure you keep that on your radar. Could be some movement in the markets when they happen. Other than that, we have the pound sterling has some high impact prelim GDP numbers to kick off London Open, and then we've got Fed Chair Powell testifying middle of the week, and another speaker for the Australian dollar, and then again CPI and core CPI for the US dollar Thursday, and we have core retail sales for the US dollar for Friday. So I don't see any major landmines or pitfalls in the week ahead, so we should be fine in terms of news and what surprises that are going to be laying ahead. Just wanted to keep this one thing on the radar screen. We do have next Monday, so a week today, or excuse me, a week tomorrow, it'll be a bank holiday for the US dollar. As you can see there, I believe it's President's Day in the US, so just keep that in mind for next week, but I'll remind you again. Okay, getting into this, so like I was saying, this was Friday's candle, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. So from the start of last week to the end of last week, if I flipped out to a weekly, this would be one solid bull candle. You can see that right there. Look at that, one solid bull candle straight up, smashing the old high that we had over here that we identified. So great price direction, and if you guys noted my thoughts on the weekly review, I had mentioned that I was looking for continuation to the upside on the week, and so no surprise there. So hopefully you guys all had a great trading week last week. We know we did in the members room, even though it was an NFP week, non-farm news was out, we all still traded Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with relative ease, so it was good trading week. Now going forward this week here, we've got, like I say, a little bit of pullback I think is in order after this monster move higher. And you can see they're all pretty close to very sizable price movements in here, as you can see that. This one here definitely being the largest of them all. But you can see that range to that high, that range to that high, all very, very similar. And after those big expansions, we had a nice little retracement, big expansion, nice little retracement, big expansion, expecting another nice little retracement. How far do we go? This is the million-dollar question here. So I'm looking at a couple of areas. We do have a little bit of a gap in price, and I've got that identified at 98.15, right on this area right there. Not too serious. We do have the wick here and the wick there that go through it, but I want to point it out on the chart because it could be something that price may want to get pulled down towards. Now, if this is going to continue higher, okay, so if we come down and expand it up and retrace, and we're going to go and make one more leg higher, what I don't want to see is price go any lower than 97.85. Really, this the highs of these candles in here, I don't want to see them go back into this price range from these highs here to this low. I don't want to see price go into there at all. I want to see it stay well above that and out of that range. if we're going to continue higher. So as we move lower this week, I'm going to be watching the high here on this candle, the high of Thursday. I'm going to be watching this high right here, this red line, basically right there. And I'm going to be watching to see if we go lower than there and there, then I'm going to be looking at this area right in here. And if we keep going further than that, I'm going to be looking basically right at this old consolidation. 1, 2, 3 candles right in here, and you can consider this fourth candle right about there. Right about, like I say, the 97.85 to 98 even level is right about where I'll be looking if price decides to trade through this tiny little gap in the day. So that's what I'm looking for on this week. But now, if we do get down there, that's why I say if we do come down here and see some hesitation and you know, maybe some support that starts to form, I'll be looking for a move like this and possibly to come above. And that's why I've got it noted on the chart here. 98.95. It'll run to 99.00, I believe, if we do get all the way up here. But I will also be looking, I've got 3 sort of quadrants here that I'm looking at for price to run up to as well, and possibly see some resistance on the upside. Now, we definitely hit the first one here. Friday's close, the high, came right into at 98.50. That was the first level I was looking at, and you can see we're starting to trade off of there. I think eventually we'll trade through it, and then I want to see what the willingness to go higher is when we get to the next level, and then that third level up here. So that's what those 3 blue lines are indicating. This red line here obviously is just the old high here, and I wanted to just go check mark because I called this level here. I was saying price is coming down here and we're going to start running higher. We're going to get above that high, and that's exactly what we did. So again, some obvious pullback I think is in order here, and I just want to, before I commit to any trades for the week, I want to see how deep we want to go. If we can get back through this high here and then ultimately Thursday's high, and we start trading lower than that, then I think it's going to be a very easy opposite position, obviously, on EurUsd, GbpUsd, and some of the other cross pairs. So we'll get into that here right now. And again, like I say, I am expecting some sort of measure of support at those levels, and then a movement higher on the week. But with this big expansion, they could take their time going lower, and maybe this week could be spent to giving back some of this run up into here. And I would expect to move at least back to the 50% retracement level, you know, on a regular move, expansion move higher. So we'll see if we actually get it that deep. Okay. Going into EurUsd, so we had a major slide on EurUsd, took out the 109.80 level with relative ease, actually, and we had targets lower than that. I had targets down to 109.60 on the downside for the week. So again, we've got in, our members got in a nice trade on EurUsd last week. That was a great pair to trade. And then we've come in, we've rebalanced, and so far we're bouncing right at the old highs in here. So back to this old consolidation level back in here. So that's why I've got it noted. If we basically, what I'm looking here, very similar to what I mentioned on the US dollar. So if we have price, let's see if I fix this one trend line. If we have price starting to run higher, that's where, like I say, I'll be watching the US dollar on the willingness to run lower, because there's a lot more areas of resistance a lot closer to price on the EurUsd versus where we've got on the US dollar. So if we get above 109.80 on the upside, I'll be looking at Thursday's low and then 109.80, which is this low right here on the upside, to offer some sort of resistance. If we don't get that, we could start to trade, and I wouldn't suggest that they would trade back up into this price range at all. Very similarly, like I said, I don't believe they're going to trade back into this price range. But I believe we could come above the low on Thursday and possibly even get into the lows of these candles here. So I'm going to be watching that on EurUsd, and it's not very far away. So from current position, we're right now, Sunday is 109.50 at current location. You know, we're only talking possibly 15 to 30 pips maybe if we want to run this old low up here, we could be talking about, potentially 40 pips to the upside. So not a big range. So that's why I'm not necessarily looking too much at EurUsd for a giant retracement higher. But what I would be looking for on this pair, if we do come up into this range and we start seeing some resistance up into here and a willingness to stop trading higher and start to move lower, I would be looking for a short, and I would be first targeting kind of the middle of this range here, or 109.20, and then ultimately I think if we really start getting a run higher on the US dollar, we're going to see 108.80s on EurUsd and possibly lower. Now, you really got to go back in time here quite a bit. There's a bit of a gap down here, and we were talking about this area on the weekly chart all the way back in the summer of last year on this last price run down in here. You can see this is very, very bearish, and we're still in a fairly overall lengthy consolidation period, but you can see EurUsd is very, very bearish. Okay, so I don't necessarily believe we're going to start trading above these highs anytime soon. We've got them noted on the chart. Of course, if we do see a reversal, seasonally speaking as well, the US dollar should be declining, and we're not getting that right now. So we'll see what they want to do here shortly, but I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing the high put in on US dollar, and we can't pick the high. Of course, we have to wait for the high to form, wait for the confirmation, and then get into it. That's the best way to trade, and we're still pushing up. So obviously we haven't made that high yet. Is the high going to be here? Is it going to be this one, or is it ultimately going to be these two equal highs here? I don't know yet. So we got to wait for that to be put in. So if we're looking at that on the EurUsd, and we do really start sliding lower, I'm going to be looking at this low here at 108.80, as I said, because I believe these levels in here, you can see this gap from those lows to that high. There's a very large price gap there that they could want to trade down to. Okay. So we're going to have to wait and see how high we get on EurUsd, but I believe there could be a tradable bounce coming here in the next little while, and I would probably target at least halfway down to 109.20, and then ultimately 108.80 I think could be the target for the week. So we'll see how that pans out. What changes that? Again, if price comes anywhere above 110.50, so basically 100, if we run all the way back up into here and we're 100 pips higher than what we are today, I will probably shift my focus to the upside, but I don't see that happening. Okay, GBP. Sorry, and I should note this too, I would actually kind of anticipate a little bit of consolidation on EurUsd. I'm just going to say that for right now. I don't think we're going to make another huge range on EurUsd this week. It could be a little bit tighter range, so just keep that in mind. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. It's just typically after these large ranges that we've had here, price tends to cool off a little bit and wants to consolidate. We had a very, very large range here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we consolidate a little bit. So just noting that now. Now, speaking of consolidation, look at GbpUsd. The cable has been consolidating all through here basically since October. Since the highs of October, mid-October were put in, we've been in just a very long overdrawn consolidation period. Yes, we had a nice run up into here, and don't get me wrong, I mean this run to that high is 700 pips, but it's still a consolidation. And you look at that, right? This is an obvious trend higher. This is consolidation, expansion out of it to run the highs here, and then we're right back in this consolidation. Now price is smashing back down. So I believe what we're seeing here, to be perfectly honest with you folks, is this was the Brexit. Excuse me, that's not correct. That's not Brexit. This was the Brexit, the removal of the UK from Brexit. This was the final day just last month there, the 31st of January. And so I think we could possibly see lower prices I didn't necessarily think we were going to run this low here last week. I was certainly expecting this low, all of these lows in here, this consolidation, to get run out, and you can go back to my previous video from last week where I share my thoughts on that. I only thought those lows were going to get run out, and we clearly smashed through that. So I'm very surprised at cable. But that being said, I do have some more targets to the downside, where if price wants to remain heavy, it should get with relative ease. So one of those levels, 128.10 on the downside, basically a sweep below. See this consolidation level here, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles consolidated right in here. I believe that there's a very strong chance we could get pulled down to that, and this would be my target on the downside if we do see that. Again, very similar to the EurUsd, I would expect a little bit of a retracement higher. How high is that retracement going to come in? We've got some down candles here that could offer some very significant resistance to the upside, and then obviously we've got Thursday's Thursday's low in here at 129.20. That could be the draw on price. Not very far away. We're only about 30 pips away from that now. It's a level, some levels that I'm going to look at. But and again, what changes this? If we start moving above the 130s, so 1.300. I'll leave it at 130.10 here on the chart. I like that number. More so just because it came out to a perfectly round number accidentally. I'm going to leave that there. So if we go any higher than 130.10, then we can obviously switch our directional bias, and we could want to run out, because there are some very, very nice levels above price right now that I think would be a great run on from where we're currently sitting. It would be a very, very nice run in price. You could get in for a great swing trade. I wouldn't be taking part in a run above this until we got above 130.10. Okay, so it's not like I'm suggesting that this is the low and I'm going to start buying this up because I think we're going to here. I don't believe that's the case. I actually believe we're probably going to sink a little bit lower on GbpUsd. How low, do I think we're going to get back into this range here? I don't believe so. I think this was the low, and they've expanded up, retraced back in, a big, powerful expansion. Consolidation, ran the highs here, and I think they're just honestly building price. I think the banks and everyone else are they're buying into this move, and all they're doing is just taking out everybody who is on the long side and taking all their stops. Because if you look, this overall move right here, there's still several areas above price where I think where they could reach to. I'm not suggesting that we're going to get all the way back up here anytime soon, but if you look in this overall price movement, let me zoom out a little bit. Price is very, very low. It started off, in early 2000s, just a slight bit higher than where we are, and then we had this big run up here. And ever since then, price has struggled to maintain its price. And we've hit a couple of lows in here. So, like I say, I'm watching the levels in here. I'd like to see a hard level. I really don't want to see price come down. If it does come down below this consolidation, I don't want it going much lower than that. I'd like to see it stay above this this low here. And if it does stretch to the downside, 128.10 I think would be my target. If we go above 130.10, I'm going to be targeting 132 and ultimately 132.85, probably 133 on the upside for the week. So those are the levels I'm looking at on cable. And the reason why I'm giving you both sides on this one is because we're right in the middle. If you take the low to the high, we're a little bit less than in the middle, but we're still in this consolidation range here. Okay, so until we clearly break out of this consolidation range, we don't know for certainty as to exactly what we're going to get and where it's going to reach for until we get out of this. I just believe the draw is more likely higher, and only because we just came down from a discount market. Okay. One of the other reasons why I believe we're going to go lower, at least for the short term, is look at EuroGBP. We have these areas in here. Look at all these highs, high, all these highs, all these highs. They haven't done any stop runs in here. I think they're looking for an excuse to push this up into this range here. again, I don't know if Euro GBP is ultimately going to trade lower or back up higher. We're still banking in this consolidation range here. So we just ran all these major areas in here. I would expect a little bit of retracement to the upside would be in order, and it just kind of seems a little bit too perfect, in my opinion, that they've left all of these very conveniently, all these highs right there. I think we're going to shoot above that, and if we do shoot above those highs, we're going to see GBP shoot lower. Okay, so that's what my thoughts are on that one. Real quickly, USCAD. Really drove me nuts last week. I'll be honest with you, this pair has been frustrating, and I apologize for everybody who is a USCAD trader and listening to what I'm saying on this. I haven't been able to peg this market down, and the reason mainly is because, look, so we're consolidating in an area where it consolidated, in an area where it consolidated, in an area, in another area where it consolidated for a very long time. Okay, so, what do you expect? And then in another area where, again, do you see the common thread here? And if I went out to a weekly chart, you'd probably see, look, all in the same area, consolidation, consolidate, 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 consolidate. So, I apologize, folks. Last week was a bit of a frustrating week. We had Monday open up, and I was expecting them to run these highs here, which should be obvious, very easy levels to run, and it just didn't go anywhere all week long. You can see the weekly range. We just stuck right in the middle all week long, apart from this big up range there on Monday, and that was it. Gave everything back. We had non-farm payroll shoot price down into here. I believe they're going to go higher. I'm still sticking to that. I believe we're going to go higher. But you look at how many times they've turned around in these areas. We shot up in here, turned around, shot up in here, turned around, shot up in here, turned around. We shot up in here. Do we turn around again, or do we ultimately finally take out these highs right here? I believe, personally, that we are going to shoot above and take these highs out. I don't know if we'll get above this high, but I believe this high and this high here will get taken out. And mainly the only reason is because of the US dollar, how close proximity you are to these two equal highs here. I think it's too good to be true. I think they're going to not leave those untouched. I think they're going to just stab price up in here real quick. And then that should shoot USCAD up into here as well too. But they're building up some anticipation. So if you're a USCAD trader, guys, I'm sorry. I can't offer you anything other than I believe we're going up here. I don't know how far it's going to pull back, if it's going to pull back at all. I don't know if it's going to consolidate and keep going sideways like we did here and here, or if it's just going to be a straight shot up. So if you're a USCAD trader, guys, I'm sorry. You'll have to figure that one out on your own, because I just don't have a crystal ball on this one. Sorry. So anyway, US yen, very interesting. So it's very similar to US CAD as well too, in a giant consolidation period. But what we didn't do, so as US dollar was shooting above, now this should be doing exactly what the US dollar is doing. US dollar was shooting higher to make new highs last week, and I can't get this. There we go. US dollar, again, we're shooting higher to make these highs here. US yen was shooting higher as well, but look where we failed. Right back to this consolidation level, we failed to get any higher. Could be a failure swing. So what we could see on US yen this week, a return back down to this previous consolidation range, and then if the US dollar does finally see that expansion higher, we could see that. So I'm going to leave that right there. I'm not a big US yen trader. However, there is a big gap on the daily range right here. I want you guys to keep marked on your charts. Boom. We'll leave it at that. 111. I've had it up here before, and I was expecting on this previous run here. They've really done a very good job of taking their time on this movement here, and they're consolidating for a reason. I'm expecting a big move on US yen here pretty soon. You know, something possibly like this here. They're really tightening price up, and so typically when price tightens up like that, it will expand in a big fast direction one way or the other. I think they're going to shoot it up into here personally, and then they'll probably drop price, and they're going to drop price quickly, and they're probably going to drop it underneath these three lows here. I think that's just my prediction. We'll see if that comes out to play or not. Okay, real quick, last Forex pair, Aussie, because this video is already going long. Saw some big expansion downward on Aussie, and we just took out these lows. I'm not super bearish on Australian dollar now that we just took out those lows. And if you'll look, and if you go all the way back on Australian dollar, we have not been this low since November of 2008. Not even November, I'd call it early 2009, I should say. We haven't been this low since price was moving back out of this consolidation area here. I don't have a target on the downside other than this last candle right here, all the way down at 0.6280. That's the only level I've got on Australian dollar. The price hasn't been this low for that long, so I don't know what this thing is going to do. If we do see expansion lower on the US dollar, a little bit of retracement, we should see Aussie pick up. And we do have a little gap right here. I'll just bring that out on the chart now. Could be a target going forward. If we see price go back up through this range right here, I think we could probably target those highs here, and maybe Aussie wants to reverse. But honestly, I'm not bullish on Australian dollar yet until we make an obvious low and price confirms that low. If this is the low, I don't want to see price go back through that, obviously. But we need some confirmation that it is. What I'd like to see, a great trade, is that when price comes down here, makes a low, comes down, shoots down, makes a lower low, and quickly rejects. That's a very nice signal to go long. And you just got to wait for price to retrace one more time, and that's when you get in on that failure swing, and away you go. So that's what I'm looking for. Very similar to what we see, here, where price came up, created a high, shot up very quickly, made another high, and then rejected immediately. That's what I want to see. But to be honest with you, if US dollar keeps pushing higher, Aussie will not go back up here anytime soon. It will be going lower, and in which case, like I say, I'd have to go back into the daily charts all the way back in 2009 and pick out levels in there to get ranges in here, and I just haven't done that yet. So we'll see what Aussie wants to do this week. Okay, so just maybe keep your powder dry on this one here. We had a nice big extended move on Aussie the past couple of weeks, and just about 400 pips. So hopefully you guys got some of that movement. So we'll come back to this one after this week plays out, I think. Okay, and finally, crude oil. What did I tell you guys? Price was going to smash down and take out these lows. And I had been saying this since, I believe, September of last year. And if you don't believe me, go into my YouTube channel and just search out a weekly review from last September to October. And I mentioned it in there that price is going to come down and sweep through these lows. These lows are too obvious. They're too good to be true. And they did it very quickly. It only took them about 2 weeks to really smash price down, and you can see that in here. Huge movement on crude. Very impressive to see. It was a $16 move in crude oil in about 2 weeks. So if you guys are a crude oil trader, wow, you basically wouldn't need to trade much at all for the rest of the year if you got in on these highs here and you targeted these lows. I mean, really, just incredible. So we're in some pretty significant areas of support right now. If we break this low here, that I have this last blue line on here at 49.15, I believe it's going to be a straight shot down to about the low 47s. I think specifically 47.70 will probably get hit. It's 47.65 to 47.70 if we go lower, but I'll have 47 even on the chart just in case. I don't think we're going to go further than that. Now, my thoughts on crude oil. This is very simple. Here's a seasonal chart for crude oil for the past 40 years, basically. Look where we are. Crude oil basically goes straight sideways in January, creates the lows in February, kind of early first to second week of February, and then look at the giant expansion that we have for the rest of the quarter and into April. Sets the yearly highs, just about the yearly highs, in a 2 to 3 month period. Call it a 2.5 month period. this is what I'm looking for, guys. So as long as the seasonals remain correct and nothing major happens, you know, on the geopolitical front, I'm expecting a bullish move in February, March, and April. Now, I'm not going to pick the low and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and get long right now. We have to wait for price to confirm itself. And if you look at the seasonals, you can see what it does in here. You know, maybe I'll just switch to maybe a black pen here and just kind of show you guys something real quick. This is what I'm looking at. So I'm looking for price. As you can see, we kind of stagnate in here. In here, we're stagnating. Price shoots up, comes back down, and then starts running away. But before it starts running away, we do one last little confirmation check. That price right in here, you can see that runs down, and then we expand. What I'd be looking for would be to possibly enter on something like that. So what does that look like on the chart? Well, basically, I don't know where the low is. Let's assume price comes all the way down here. I don't know. But what I'd be looking for is price to shoot down, create the low. If this isn't the low, you know what? Let's just say this is the low for now. So we've come down into here, come back up, expand above the old highs that we created last week, come back down, retrace, find a level of support, and then get in. And this would be the entry right here. So obviously we're not getting the low. Nobody's got a crystal ball, and you can't predict the low that way. Sometimes you can, but to be safe, you definitely want to get in on confirmation. So not here. You wait, be patient for this to happen, and then you get in. I'm very bullish crude oil going into the next couple of months. It's very nice to see this run down at the time that it happened. We hit some major levels, hit some liquidity on the downside. All the big banks were shorting this. They got all the traders who were sitting here, and all the big hedge funds and everything, who had all their positions and all their stops underneath here, getting in this long move up. They're done. They got them. So I believe they're going to start flipping the script, and they're going to be starting to move to net long positions. We could see one more stab lower, so I'm going to hold off and wait. But I'm very bullish crude oil going forward. So that's it. That's a wrap, guys. I appreciate you watching. Again, if you want to see more information, go ahead and check us out at f45trading.com. Give me a like on this video if it helped you out. Give me a comment if you have any questions. Hit me on Twitter at F45Trading, or anywhere else you guys know how to get a hold of me. It's not a hard thing. And again, thanks for watching. Give it a share, give it a like, and we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. If you're a member, I will catch up to you guys in the chat room tomorrow. Thanks for watching.